Hey, this is Brian Helton with Brian Helton Realty in Mount Airy. And today we're going to interview Alan Poindexter, who's running against Sarah Stevens in the North Carolina House on the state level. Just a quick background right fast. I sell real estate in Mount Airy and life insurance. And what I'm trying to do is just interview some of the local candidates to see how they're going to be as representatives of you and as the state and of the county and of the city. It also gives me a chance to meet them, and hopefully it'll give you some information that you'll need when it's time to go to the ballot boxes and vote on who's going to lead our city and our state in the coming months. Alan, man, I appreciate you showing up.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, tell me something about you. People might not know you. Are you a local? Are you from here originally? I mean, how does that work?
Well, I'm a 4-year-old married male, and I've lived here my whole life. I'm a lifelong resident. I have 2 beautiful kids, and I'm married to my wife, Diane.
Which Diane's sitting over there, sidelining, throwing some support to everybody. So she's here. I don't know. Like I said, politics is kind of new to me. I don't know a lot about it. It's the first time I've really waded into it with this part of my interview series. Sarah Stevens, you, primary, May, you're running against her. She's obviously been in there for a while. I don't know much about her either. What made you decide that trying to run for North Carolina House was going to be a good idea?
Well, my intentions, I never intended to run because I've always been involved with politics one way or another, either with the party or helping a candidate. But once my opponent, Sarah Stevens, started voting on things that I don't think is in line with the people in this district, I decided, somebody needs to stand up and represent the people. And the way she voted on some things is not in line with the people in this district. And there's several examples I can give you if you'd like those. If not, then...
Well, we might get into some examples right here in a second. I think something that you hit on just now is really important, is that politics just isn't a thing where you go and you vote on stuff. We need people who have ideas. Mm-hmm. And the reason we have primaries and the reason we have general elections, are to try to get different ideas. And one of the reasons that you're sitting here today and I'm sitting over here trying to make informational interviews for people is so we can see what some of the different ideas are. I mean, I may go up there and I may think that it's a good idea to vote that every day should be sunny, and you go up there and you're smart enough to know that every day doesn't need to be sunny, that some days need to be rainy. Mm-hmm. So it's just a contrast of ideas on how people, view stuff. And the way we decide that is to go to the ballot box and vote for who we think closely represents our ideas of how the future should go. I mean, America's great. I mean, there's no doubt. America's wonderful. We're one of the few countries that has the privilege to elect ideas and leaders. If you get up there and start with, I can't ever remember the right numbers, so tell me what it is. It's the North Carolina House of Representatives,
13th seat, 90th district.
13th seat, 90th district.
Yes.
Okay. Sarah's been up there a while, but I don't want this to be, you against Sarah or whatever. What I really want is just people to get to know you and some of your ideas.
Okay.
So if we put you up there on day one, what's day one?
Day one is obviously get to know my colleagues and see who I can align myself with, some of the people that I had the same ideas with, and start working on things to get some things passed at the General Assembly. And some of the things I'd like to pass is I'd like to do more cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity?
Yes.
Now, cybersecurity means a lot of things. Protecting information at banks, protecting information at credit card venues. But I think from what I've looked at, and I didn't mean to cut you off, I apologize. But I think, and now you correct me if I'm wrong, all right? Now don't let me point you in a direction you don't want to go. Okay. But I think what you're kind of angling for is it's great to protect the banks, it's great to protect credit card information, But you worry a lot about what my kids are seeing on the internet when they get on the internet and their safety. Is that a fair?
Yes.
Is that a fair way to go about it?
Yes. It's also not so much to see what they're doing, but also to keep track of these people like the sex offenders and keep a track of what they're doing and their movements, because we got like 100 and some, I think it's like 140 some sex offenders here just in Surrey County.
Just in Surrey County.
And
Wow.
I did a cross reference with the sex offenders as opposed to the ones that's on like social media, and it's staggering. And it bothers me being a parent and being a citizen.
Well, it bothers me too. I've got two 14-year-olds. I've got an 8-year-old. I can't keep up with everything they do. I understand that. Give me a quick idea of what cybersecurity means when it comes to kids.
Well, it's basically keeping track of the movements of these, like the sex.
Okay, so it's not monitoring my kids.
No.
It's monitoring.
The sex offenders.
It's monitoring the offenders.
Yes,
the people we're.
It's not the everyday citizens we're going to pile on their privacy. No, it's the everyday sex offenders, like you should say, not the everyday citizens, because that's what people do in their private time in their home. That's their privacy. Don't invade that. But when it comes to the sex offenders, yes, we need to keep a track of these sex offenders.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I can't think of anything that scares me more as everything's so wired now. I mean, I try to be a good parent, and I think I am for the most part, but I know my 8-year-old gets on his Kindle or gets on my phone, and I have no boundaries set up to who can interact with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it scares me to death. So my choices become either keep my 8-year-old in the Stone Age and don't let him interact with technology, or find some way, to try to safeguard against it. And it's a balancing act, and it is for every parent, because parents work and they're busy and they can't keep track of everything. Mm-hmm. But the government can't keep track of everything either. I mean, let's just be honest. There's nothing you can do that's going to 100% stop it. I mean, it can't be done. There's no way. I mean, I can take my kid out in a tank today and still end up in a wreck. You know what I mean? I mean, and him getting hurt. There's nothing I can do. But I think it's admirable. I mean, is there any kind of things that you've seen that the legislature is talking about right now doing that, or would this be a whole new idea that you're bringing to the table?
I did research, and I've not seen anything to implement anything to this nature. No.
All right, now, like I said, I don't know your whole platform. I'm talking to you things that are kind of important to me. Mm-hmm. Keeping kids safe, that seems to be your platform.
My emphasis is keeping our kids safe is my biggest.
And that's what you worry about. But there's going to be other things that go along with it. But, we'll pull one out of the current news right now. And I'll let the record show right now that I'm for security guards and arming teachers in schools to protect my kids. Please, nobody misunderstand that. So I'm not trying to trick Alan. I don't know his spot, but that's my spot. But how do you feel about that? I mean, it's great to keep my kids safe when they're on the internet and the phone, but I want them safe when I drop them off at school at 8 o'clock in the morning until I pick them up at 3. Now, what are you looking at from those angles?
Well, I'd like to see work with the federal government to implement funds to our state government, to work to implement to our county government to protect our kids, and put people like veterans that, in the former military, put them in the schools. Let them help with the resource officers, school resource officers, and help them. And they'll have a job. It's keeping our kids safe, and it's a win-win situation for everyone. And if, I'm all for security. When anything that protects our kids, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Everybody says it's about gun control. No, it's not about gun control. It's about people control. Not controlling the people what they do, but kind of control what they all have to do. But
see, I feel the same way. I don't have a problem myself with even teachers being armed, as long as they volunteer, they go through the training. I don't have a problem with it. And I also don't have a problem with, I know every teacher doesn't want to carry a gun, but if you've got 5 at a school that want to carry a gun and are willing to do it and take the training and be safe, and we want to add $7,500, to their pay a year for taking on that responsibility and that challenge,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm all for it. I mean, how do you feel about that? Budgeting for compensation if it became teachers?
I have no problem with that at all. I mean, it goes back to, it's not so much the economics part of it,
Right.
it's the safety part of it.
Safety part of it.
I mean,
Well, you got to balance.
You got to balance them.
You got to balance them, and the reason I say that, and it's hard to say. I've got to balance everything, resource to be put into protecting kids, but you also have to realize that there's things called taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That money has to come from somewhere, so it has to be balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we might get back to this in just a second because there may be something you want to hit, but since we brought up taxes, what's your overall feel on taxes going forward? Are we overtaxed? Are we undertaxed? Do we need breaks? I mean, what are you thinking?
Well, taxes is a very thin line subject that people don't like to talk about, especially during election time, but I'll talk about it anytime. But, there's some things going on in the city, per se, and people say, well, what about the food and beverage tax? Well, that's okay if we can share the cost with the tourists, but if it's going to be just a tax, it's going to be totally on the citizens, no, I didn't want to do that. But if we can share that burden with these tourists, I'm all for it. And if it's going to lower the people's property taxes, go for it. I don't like to raise taxes, and I don't like taxes no more than anyone else does, but if it can help us.
I don't like taxes either, and you're referring to the barter theater, which we're not going to get into because you're not running for a local position, but I'm totally against it. Anybody that keeps up with my page and everything else knows I'm totally against raising property taxes to support out-of-town tourists coming into Mount Airy.
Mm-hmm.
But also realize there's things that taxes have to be raised for, raising economic prospects and things like that. I mean, I get it. But I think it just needs to be a balance.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what you said, and there's no politician who can say I'm never going to raise taxes, and no politician who can say I'm always going to vote in favor of lowering them. It's just a balancing act, just like at your house. You got to keep a budget good. But I want common sense choices. When my taxes are raised, I want to see something of value for my family involved in it. And I think that's how most people, view taxes. I know keeping kids safe, and like I said, there's thousands of ways to keep kids safe. They wear helmets when they play baseball. They, shin guards, when they play soccer, whatever. And it's an everyday thing that every parent worries about constantly, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Just out of curiosity, and so everybody knows this is not scripted, so I may say something to Alan that makes Alan have to think for a minute, and I don't mean to because I want it to be kind of more informational. But the school situation, I would love to see, maybe not a overwhelming God back in schools, but I would like to see it be okay for God to be allowed back in schools.
Absolutely.
And I know that's going to be coming up. I mean, that's going to be something a lot of places are starting to talk about, more religious freedom in school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that something that you stand on? I mean, how do you view that?
Well, I don't think it should be tailored to one religion or the other. I mean, be open to all the religions. Don't just say we're only going to have Christians, we're only going to have Muslim faith, we're going to have Buddhism. Open it up. You can just say one without all of it. I'm a Christian, yes, but I'm not going to push my agenda as far as.
No, but one of the great things about the United States is freedom of religion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a Christian too, but I also understand that not everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to find their way in life just like I'm finding mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wanted to make sure that I said I don't want it forced on people, but I would like to see it a little bit more freely discussed in schools. Alan, we were going to try to keep this about 15 minutes. We've ran 14.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a second right here in a second when I decide to quit talking because it's my interview. I'm just kidding. But what I'm thinking to myself right now is, I love the idea that politicians are thinking about kids. I mean, I want them thinking about me too. I don't want to be ignored, but I want a future for my family. I want my kids. When I look at my kids, I don't want to think, oh gosh, it's sketchy enough. I want to know that I got people in office that are thinking about my kids. And I appreciate that from you. Appreciate you coming in and sitting down today. I'll give you 5, 10, 15 seconds, whatever, man. Tell people what you'd most want them to know about Alan Poindexter, whether it's you like fishing or you like hunting or you like playing on computers or whatever it is, or just tell them a policy that you're going to push that you think they'd all be interested in.
Well, my campaign motto is people before politics, and that's the way it should be. I don't want to come around just when it's convenient for me running for election. I want to come around all the time. I want to be with people, involved with the people all the time. If something comes up, I like to come back to my district and talk to these people and say, get their input, because it's not about me. It's not about the politics of being in office. It's about the people and getting their input. And so I want the people to know that they can come to me at any time, not just during election time, but any time. And they can talk to me about anything that's on their mind, and I can discuss what's coming up, because I'm not just going to sit on my rear end and just say, hey, I want to vote this way or I'm going to vote that way. I want to come back and get the feedback, because it's about the people. And so that's what I want people to know.
Well, that sounds good to me, because I want a politician who listens to input from the locals. I want a politician that's not bought off by anybody else. It's what I want. I want somebody who cares, not only about children, but about the people, about the towns, about the community. And I'm hoping that you do well. Obviously, and I appreciate you coming in this morning. And if you happen to win and you get up there, man, honor all the things that you say you're going to do to the best of your ability. And I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming in and talking to me.
Thanks, sir.